welcome to Barça News. It is April 3rd, 2026. And ladies and gentlemen, the former Barcelona president, Josep Maria Bartomeu, is at it again, defending his presidency. Also, we're going to talk about the Bundesliga striker that Barcelona are currently tracking. And finally, talks are set to begin with Inter Milan in regards to Bastoni next week. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Boo, and this is the Barça News live podcast, which is on every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, where not only we discuss Barcelona news, but where I also get to interact with you lovely people in the chat section by reading your comments live and reacting to them. So start filling out the chat section with your questions, your comments, anything that you want to share with the entire Barça News family. Now, for those of you who will be watching when the podcast ends, I will be putting timestamps in the description, the chats, and the timeline in case you do want to skip through the discussion and get straight into the news. Having said all that, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. All of this helps the channel continue to grow. If you're looking for any Barcelona jerseys or merchandise, make sure to go Kids Get Back or Fanatic. If you're looking to place any sports bets, make sure to bet us. All links are down below in the description. Click on them, you get access to some pretty cool deals and offers, courtesy of Barça News. Deals and offers that otherwise you would not get access to if you go to those websites directly rather than using the links down below in the description. All right, let's begin with the news because, ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow is a big, huge, massive day because not only is the FIFA international break finally over, but tomorrow La Liga will resume. And of course, we have a big match against Atletico de Madrid at the Wanda Metropolitana or Riyadh Metropolitana. Whatever the fuck that stadium is called. I don't really care what it's called. But anyways, it's a La Liga match against Atletico Madrid in their stadium. A match that, of course, is going to be difficult because it is Atletico de Madrid. A match is going to be difficult because it will be an away match. And a match that Barcelona needs to win because this is the final stretch of La Liga. Not many matches left. And dropping points now could prove detrimental to Barcelona's hopes of winning this La Liga season once again. Now, the question is, of course, which Barça are we going to see tomorrow? Are we going to see the Barça from the Metropolitano, where we lost 4-0, 4 goals in like 45 minutes or however long it was? Or are we going to see the Barça from the Camp Nou, where we won 3-0. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to qualify to the Copa del Rey final, but it was total domination by Barcelona. Hopefully, of course, we'll see the latter. Now, speaking of tomorrow's match, the president-elect Joan Laporta visited today the players' locker room today in order to give them some encouragement. Of course, he entered the locker room with Rafa Yuste, who is the current president of Barcelona, because if you don't know by now, when Joan Laporta stepped down to run for re-election, Rafa Yuste, his vice president, became the president. Of course, Joan Laporta has won re-election, but he will not become president until July 1st. So for now, our president is Rafa Yuste. So Rafa Yuste invited Joan Laporta. The two of them visited the players in the locker room, and Laporta, gave kind of like an encouraging speech to the players, asking them to focus on this last stretch of the season, where, of course, we are fighting for 2 trophies, La Liga and the Champions League. He also congratulated the players who have qualified to the World Cup with their teams. And, of course, in regards to, the big loss, which is Rafinha's injury, who is a captain, who's an incredibly loved player within the locker room, Joan Laporta reminded the players that, the strength of this team lies in the collective effort. Of course, it's a big loss that we lost Rafinha, but at the end of the day, if we all come together as a team, well, we should be able to overcome that loss. So Laporta encouraging the players, and I have to say this, and I used to say this before, even when Xavi was the coach, but I'll say it again. I don't like this one bit. I do not like that Joan Laporta goes to the locker room and talks to the players. Why do I say that? It's not because of Laporta. I would say this about any president. If it was Bartomeu, if it was Sandro Rosé, if it was, I don't know, Victor Font, Mark Siria, whoever is the president, I do not like when the presidents go to the locker room because that is not their domain. The locker room should be the coach's domain and the coach's domain only. The locker room is the jungle and Hansi Flick is the Lion King. And that's how it should be. If the president of the club, whomever it may be, again, this is not about Laporta. This is about me not liking presidents meddling with the team. If the president has a message for the players, he should tell his coach. And then the coach should go and relay that message to the players. Or if he wants to say it directly, I don't know, invite the players to the conference room, to a banquet, to a dinner, something like that. But the locker room, no president, no vice president, no executive should be setting foot in the locker room. That should be strictly the coach's domain. Lines need to be drawn, and I don't like when presidents, whomever it might be, cross those lines. Match preparation is 100% the coach's domain. It's Flick who needs to figure out what tactics, what strategy needs to be followed. It's Flick who needs to decide how the players prepare for it physically and tactically speaking. It's Flick's job to decide who starts and who doesn't. It's Flick's job to encourage and motivate these players. It's not the president of the club's job. The president of the club's job is to run the club, not to be given encouraging speeches. You know, if Tim Cook thought he had a problem at the factory where iPhones are being manufactured, do you think Tim Cook is going to go in person there? No, he's going to tell the manager of the floor to go and talk to the workers. And that's how it should be. But anyways, that's a side note. Again, Laporta gave a speech. Don't like that one bit. But let's talk about the training because, of course, the team did conduct the final session of training ahead of tomorrow's big match. And, of course, Hansi Flick participated in a pre-match press conference. And during that press conference, Hansi Flick confirmed the reports that I've been telling you this last few days, which is that Eric Garcia, Jules Koundé, and Alejandro Balde are all back from injury. So this is a huge news. This is a big boost for the team and for Hansi Flick, not just for tomorrow's match, but for this remainder of the season. Because, of course, we're playing against Atletico Madrid 3 times in a row, once in La Liga, twice in the Champions League. We have some difficult matches against smaller opponents, like the one against Espanyol, like the one against Getafe in their own stadium. And, of course, we do have El Clásico match, not to mention hopefully semifinals and finals of the Champions League. So the fact that we have our 2 starting fullbacks, plus Eric Garcia, who's our starting center back, starting right back, starting defensive midfielder, starting goalkeeper, starting everything. They're all back. So that's great news. Now, there are some reports stating that Eric Garcia could start tomorrow. This is not coming from Flick because, of course, Flick never talks about starting lineups. So we could see Eric Garcia start tomorrow. As far as Koundé and Balde, not likely. Most likely they will be on the bench. And if they do get minutes, it will be coming off the bench rather than starting. Now, of course, 2 players who will not be available tomorrow is Coutinho, who's out for 5 weeks, and Frankie de Jong, who Hansi Flick during a pre-match press conference did confirm that Frankie will join the group training by next week. Frankie's still training on his own. By next week, he will return to group training, which is good news. Of course, it's bad news that Frankie will not be available for tomorrow's match. But it is good news that he will be back to group training next week because, as you know by now, group training is the final stage of an injury recovery. That signals that the player is almost there, like about to come back from injury. So that, of course, is good news. Now, given that Coutinho will be out for 5 weeks, of course, this will be Marcus Rashford's moment to step up, to shine, to show us what he got, and to try to make his final case to Barcelona to try to prove, hey, I am worth the 30 million. Go ahead and pay it. Or maybe not, because in a pre-match press conference, Hansi Flick stated that he has other options in the left wing. Fermin Lopez, who we've seen him play in that position, and Gabi. So this could be Rashford's moment to shine, Or maybe not. If Hansi Flick ends up choosing, his other options like Fermin or Gabi, of course, we're going to have to see who Hansi Flick picks. We have seen Flick pick Fermin Lopez over Rashford in the past on that left wing, but we'll see what happens tomorrow and in the rest of the matches until Coutinho is back. Now, there are two players who need to be careful tomorrow, which are Marc Bernal and Jules Koundé. They both have 4 yellow cards, so if any of them see a yellow card, they could be suspended for the following match, which is against Espanyol at the Camp Nou. Rafinha and Frankie also have 4 yellow cards each, but of course, they're not playing tomorrow. So there's nothing they need to worry about. All right, so that is it for this first segment of the podcast. Of course, tomorrow we'll be doing the watch along of the match between Barcelona and Atletico Madrid. I'm thinking that I might do the watch along directly or live from Smithfield Hall, which is the bar where the New York City Peña watches the matches. I'm still trying to figure out the logistics, how I'm gonna do it, camera, internet, my sound, etc., etc., etc. I think I have it figured out. So if I do, I might do the watch along directly from that bar. I think it will be a cool experience. But if not, I'll do it from home like I always do. But either way, I will be doing the watch along. And of course, I want to hear all you guys' thoughts and opinions about tomorrow's match. Do you have any predictions? Do you have any predictions as far as goal scorers? Let me know in the chat section or in the comment section if you're watching this once it ends. All right, let's start with the comment section, and then we are going to talk about Josep Maria Bartomeu, the worst president in the history of Barcelona, because he once again has, defended his presidency. This guy is unbelievable. Anyways, Carlos says, hello, Mo. Finally, I catch a live. I'm glad, my friend, that you're here to catch a live. Welcome, welcome. I hope you're able to join us with more lives. And Isaiah James says, he better be young and agile. Who is he? Let me know, because I'm not a mind reader. Not a mind reader. By the way, that's always a good advice in writing, period. Not just in comments, but in any kind of writing. When you're referring to people, it's best to say the name, or it just makes things clearer rather than people guessing like who's he talking about. But anyways, Carlos says, how are you feeling about the 3 Atletico Madrid games? I am 50-50, and we have been so inconsistent. I just hope they are all entertaining and absolute cinema like last year. Here's the thing. As we've seen, this team has the talent, the skill, the coach, the system, everything to beat Atletico Madrid any day of the week as many times as we want. The question is how motivated the team will come out, right? Because we've seen, right? Team came out of sleep, we lost 4-0. Team came out motivated, total domination, we won 3-0. So we have more than what it takes to beat Atletico Madrid all 3 matches, and even not just beat them, but beat them by big score differences. The question is, how's the team going to come out tomorrow? Are they going to come out ready to kill, ready to win, hungry for that victory? Or are they going to come out half asleep? The only thing that worries me is not the players, the skill, or anything like that. The only thing that worries me is math. It worries me that out of 3 matches, that statistically speaking, we could win 3 out of 3. I don't know if that's a silly thing, but I mean, we could still win 2 and lose 1 and still be fine, right? If we win in La Liga match, right, we still keep our point difference ahead of Real Madrid. In Champions League, if we win the first match at the Camp Nou by a big, big margin, and let's say we lose the second one in Madrid against Atletico Madrid by a smaller margin, we can still qualify to the Champions League. So, yeah. Anyways, Justice Boyo, who says, hello, Mo. Justice Boyo from the Gambia. I wish the boys good luck tomorrow and hope the board makes the right decisions in the transfer market during the summer. Viscal Barça, my friend. And yes, amen to both of those things. And Nathan says, hey, Mo, I prefer Sheldrup over Rashford. Who do you think Barca should sign for the CF? I think I do too. I would, I much rather any of these younger wingers who have higher ceiling to improve, who are younger and therefore they can, be at the club for a while, who are younger than Rafinha and therefore they're not gonna get old at the same time as Rafinha, because Rashford will. since he's the same age. So yes, I would prefer a younger option, especially because we have Coutinho in his prime. So we can have, Coutinho the starter, this younger person learn from Coutinho. He can take his time, right? It's much better when players are able to, younger players with potential are able to enjoy themselves and be given leeway to grow and develop. For example, Messi. When Messi came up to the first team, there were, we had the players to where we didn't need Messi. We didn't need to force Messi. We didn't need to throw Messi into the fire and be like, all right, go. Like it's on your shoulders now. He was able to take his time, develop, get confidence, adjust to first division football because there was no need for him to grow up too fast. So I like that. That's I think it's much better for the player's development. So yeah, I would rather. Who should we sign for the center forward position? Honestly, I don't know because I don't see any available center forwards. I mean, we've talked about people like Fistic Aslani and things like that, like the younger players, but I just don't see anyone in the window that checks all the boxes. Someone who is in his prime, someone that can hit the ground running, someone with experience, someone of the world class caliber that could be a starting nine for Barca, and someone that's affordable. I just don't know, honestly. And Carlos says, don't you think Rafa should be in Barcelona with the team in these three next very, very important matches to be there with the team, hyping them up? So I forgot to mention this, but Flick did state that Rafinha is set to come back to Barcelona next week. So he should be back pretty soon. And Bayern Munich says, if you knock out of Champions League, will you sack Hansi Flick? No, why would we sack Hansi Flick if we get knocked out of the Champions League? That'd be a silly thing to do. Flick is doing great. He's building a very strong project. No, he shouldn't be sacked because if we get knocked out of the Champions League. But anyways, let's get back to the news and then we'll continue doing more comments. But let's talk about the worst president in the history of Barcelona, Josep Maria Bartomeu, because he is still on his "But Did You Die" tour. And what do I mean by that? I think this is the third time I'm covering his statements, maybe a fourth time, where this last month, he's been just going around, like giving interviews all over the place, talking about how, it's actually not that bad, We did a good job. We made money. We won 13 titles. We won triple. Like, it wasn't that bad, The club almost went bankrupt and ceased to exist, but it wasn't that bad, But did you die? That's what I mean by Bartomeu is continuing his "But Did You Die" tour. So let's look at the statements of this, shameless person, because you do all that damage and you would think, all right, I fucked up. I did a lot of damage that's going to last for many, many years. Let me just fade into obscurity and just sit in my corner. But no. Not only will he not go away, but now he's doubling down, talking about what he did was actually right. So let's look at Bartomeu's statements once again, because this fucking guy, man. But Bartomeu said, we did not bankrupt Barca. No, you're right. But you came very close, my friend. With us, we would have resolved the fair play issue and Messi would have stayed as well. Barcelona was not ruined at all. That narrative comes from the new board. During our period, including the presidency of Sandro Rosell and mine, the club generated significant profits and won titles. The financial collapse only came with the pandemic, which caused massive revenue losses from stadium closures, stores, and other operations. So it looks like this is the message that Bartomeu is sticking to. Because again, I think this is the third time I'm covering his statements, and it's pretty much the same thing. Like, we were doing great, we were making money, we were winning titles, but then COVID came and we lost a lot of money, and this is why we're in a situation that we're in. Which, as I said before, that's not why, my friend. Did COVID hit Barca hard? Yes, 100%. In fact, COVID impacted all clubs around the world in all sports very, very heavily, right? Closure of stadiums, people couldn't go to the stadium, so ticketing revenue pretty much it went down. It just completely disappeared. Stores being closed, people couldn't go and buy merchandising, et cetera, et cetera. So yes, of course, COVID had a huge impact, negative impact on Barca, so it did on other clubs. But that's not why the club entered a financial collapse. That's part of it. The other part was the overspending that Bartomeu did for so many years that got the club in a bad financial situation that when COVID hit, it made it much, much worse. Now, had you not been overspending, Mr. Bartomeu, COVID would have impacted the club negatively. It still would have been bad, but it wouldn't been as bad. You know, this is like having a house who you are constantly, I don't know, hitting the foundation with a sledgehammer. And then a storm comes. And then the house falls. And you're like, the storm blew the house over. It did, of course. But had you not done so much damage to the foundation before the storm hit, the house could still be standing. Or most likely will be standing. It would still be damaged, but it wouldn't be completely destroyed. And that's the thing, Mr. Bartomeu, because yes, the club did make a lot of money when you were president. Yes, you did win a lot of titles, including a historical treble. But you also spent all that money that you made on idiotic signings like Griezmann, Coutinho, Dembele, on idiotic contract renewals, renewing players who were in their 30s, giving them these massive long contracts with increasing salaries. Who gives an Asian player a salary that rises with every year? In other words, as that player gets older, it gets worse and worse, his salary will go up. It's supposed to be the other way, my friend. You give them a decrease in salary. That way, as they decline as a player, they earn less and less. But that's not what you did with players like Piqué, Ter Stegen, Busquets, Jordi Alba, etc., etc., etc. Lenglet. So that's why the financial collapse was much worse when COVID hit, because you had already done damage to the club. So this whole like, oh, we made a lot of money, we won titles is not going to cut it, Bartomeu, because yes, you're not lying. It's true. But you also spent a lot of money. And it doesn't matter how much money you make. If you spend it all or you spend more, you're still broke, right? The definition of broke, by the way, and this is more finance than it is football, but of course the two are intertwined. It's not how much money you make. It's how much money you're spending in comparison to how much money you make. That's what defines brokenness. Because you could be, let's say, someone who earns $50,000 a year, and then you have another person who owns $1 million a year. And you might be inclined to say the guy who makes 50,000 is broke, right? He's making 50,000 while this guy is making $1 million. Not necessarily. Because if the guy who's making $1 million is spending $1 million on clothes and cars and going out and trips and jewelry and stupid shit, at the end of the year, he has zero in his pocket, right? He made $1 million, he spent $1 million. He has zero. This other guy who makes 50,000, he might be frugal. He lives in a, humble apartment. He cooks at home, doesn't go out as much, buys just regular clothes. He doesn't need to go buy in fancy big brands. And maybe at the end of the year, he spends 30,000. So he makes 50, he spends 30. Now you have 20,000. You got the guy with a $1 million job who has zero at the end of the year, and you got the guy making 50,000 with $20,000 at the end of the year. Who's truly the broke one, right? So it's not about how much money you make. It's how much money you spend relatively to how much money you make. So yes, Mr. Bartomeu, Barcelona did make a lot of money while you were president, but you also spent all that money. So what is the point? But let's continue with his next statements, because these might sound familiar. He said it previously, but Bartomeu said the club approved 555 million euros in losses in 2021, but declared only 280 million to the tax authorities. Those were the real losses caused by COVID. Inflating those losses was a major mistake by Jean Laporta's board. It led to losing financial fair play. Under our management, FC Barcelona would not have lost financial fair play. COVID losses would have been amortized over 5 years. The club would have stayed within the 1-1 rule instead of facing the current restrictions. So, of course, we saw these statements before. Bartomeu stating that the reason why La Liga didn't allow Barcelona to extend to renew Lionel Messi was because Laporta inflated the losses, where the club lost 280 million euros, but Laporta reported 555 million euros. Now, here Bartomeu is adding a new fact, which I was able to verify. Last time he stated about how La Liga hired an auditor, and La Liga's auditor was like, Barcelona's losses are 280, not 500. And La Liga went to Laporta, said, are you sure you want to report 555 million in losses? Because my auditor says it's only 280. And Laporta said, yes. Right? That's what Bartomeu told us last time. Now there's a new added fact, and that's that Barcelona reported to the tax authorities the 280 million euros. So it looks like there is truth to what Bartomeu was saying, that the club's losses were 280 million, because La Liga's auditor said they were 280 million. Barcelona filed tax forms saying that they were 280 million. But then Laporta reported to La Liga that they were 555 million, doubling the losses. And therefore, Barcelona lost its financial fair play. And that is why Barcelona were not able to keep Messi. And that's why Messi had to leave to PSG. And that could explain why Messi wants nothing to do with John Laporta, because for the longest time I was like, why is Messi so mad? Like, if there was no money, there was no money. There's nothing Laporta could do. But now it's starting to make sense, especially because Bartomeu is not the only one who's been making this claim. Victor Font has made this claim. We know Joan Camproví has made this claim before as well. We know UEFA has fined Laporta and his board twice for fudging the numbers. So with every passing day, we're starting to see more and more evidence that indicates that there could be some truth to this, that it was truly Laporta's fault why Messi left. But again, I guess we're never going to know, or maybe we will as the time goes by, because if that is the case, that's huge. Because not only we lost the greatest football player in the history of the sport, not just in the history of our club, but we lost our biggest financial asset, right? Messi is estimated to generate he was generating 300 million euros per season for Barcelona in ticketing, TV rights, merchandising, etc., etc. So imagine had we kept Messi, I think the financial recovery would have been faster. Don't you think? If you're making an extra 300 million a year, don't you think that would have helped our financial recovery? I don't know, something worth to ponder on. Anyways, let's get back to the comment section, and then we are gonna talk about the new Bundesliga striker that Barcelona are tracking. But first, we do have a donation. Let's fucking go. Started with Ray Ramos. Thank you so much, my friend, for your generosity. Thank you for your donation. Let's fucking go. Because Ray Ramos says, happy Friday, Mo and chat. Hit the like and subscribe, guys. PS, awesome tour video of the new Spotify Camp Nou. One day I'm gonna visit. Well, thank you, my friend, for your donation. Yes, happy Friday to you and to the entire Barca News family. And yes, please hit the like and subscribe, especially the like button. The like button is actually huge. I know a lot of people, you're always hearing people telling you, subscribe. But actually, the like button is more important than the subscribe button, because the like button prompts the YouTube algorithm to recommend the channel or the videos of the channel to people who've never seen it, right? Because if you're hitting the like on this live, the YouTube algorithm is like, oh, whoa, what's going on here? A lot of people are hitting the like button. It must be a good video. Let me recommend it to other people who might like it, because apparently it's a good video because people are liking it, right? That's how the algorithm works. So yes, please hit the like button. It really, really helps the channel. And Ray Ramos enjoying the video. I'm glad you enjoyed it. By the way, for people who haven't seen the videos yet, the 2 videos are up of my visits to the Estadio Johan Cruyff, where I saw the Barça Femenino versus Atletico de Bilbao, and the Spotify Camp Nou video where I watched the men's team versus Rayo Vallecano. And not only that, I got to take footage of the state of the Camp Nou from the outside, from the inside. It's looking absolutely magnificent. Obviously, still looks like a construction site because it is, but nonetheless, it's looking absolutely beautiful. So if you want to see those videos, if you want to kind of like feel what the experience is kind of like of visiting those stadiums, make sure to check out those videos. So thank you, my friend, for your donation, and thank you for watching the Spotify Camp No video, and enjoy it. And we have another donation. Let's fucking go. I should probably record myself saying that, and that way every time there's a donation, I could just, hit the button. Instead of doing damage to my vocal cords. But Dev says, hey, Mo, what do you think about Antonio Nusa? Would he be a good choice for a backup on the left wing? I like Nusa. I like Fofana as well. I like Sheldrup as well. I think we have options there. We have options. I don't know why we're hell-bent on keeping Rashford. There's a lot of things that kind of make the argument for me to not sign Rashford. For example, his inconsistency. He hasn't scored or assisted since January. That's not okay for a world-class Barca player, right? And I don't care how many goals and assists he has scored before that. The fact that he hasn't scored or assisted since January, that's a problem. Because a team as big as Barca, a world-class club, one of the biggest clubs in the world, one of the most legendary clubs in the world, that aspire to win everything, they need their attackers to be putting up numbers. And not only putting up numbers, but doing it consistently. Going on these super long droughts, that's not okay. And sure, all strikers go through these droughts, but not that long. And again, we need all of our players being consistent, and Rashford hasn't been. Second thing, not only his inconsistency, again, his age. It doesn't make sense to bring someone the same age as Rafinha. It makes a lot more sense to bring someone younger who can learn and develop while Rafinha's still in his prime and starting. And then when Rafinha gets old, that younger person can take over. Right? So that's my opinion. I don't know. You guys tell me what do you think. But I do like Nusa, and amongst others who I think would be also good choices for the left wing, or better choices than Rashford. But thank you. Thank you for your donation. Let's do a few more comments, and then we will go back to the news to talk about the Bundesliga striker that Barcelona currently watching. The Jeff says, even if Rashford plays well, I don't want him. Anyone who noticed knows I haven't changed my stance on him ever since he joined. I've watched that scrub here in England save his scrap. I don't think I'm as harsh as on Rashford, but yeah, no, I don't want him either. Like, I do want him to step it up. I do want him to shine this last stretch of the season because we're going to need him. We're going to need everybody, not just him, right? We need everybody to step it up. We need Ferran to step it up. We need Olmo to step it up. We need everybody. Lamine, Lewy, Kubarsi. We need every single player to step it up and give us their best. And do so consistently for the remainder of the season if we hope to win La Liga and the Champions League, or at least La Liga, right? So yes, I want Rashford to step it up. I want him to shine. I want him to do great, because if he's doing great, that means the team is doing great, which means we have better chances of winning La Liga and the Champions, or at least La Liga. But even if he does, I think I'm in the same boat as you. I don't think I still would want to sign him. But you might say, Mo, what do you mean? If he does great. Yes. But here's the thing. Again, Barca players should be able to deliver good performances the entire season, not just the end. Even if Rashford goes on this crazy streak, this last stretch, and gives us a hat trick every single match from here until the end of the season, I would still be like, no. Because, again, in order to be a great team, a competitive team, a team that aspires to win everything, we need not only good players, we need players who are consistent. Consistency, my friend, that is the key, not just to football, not just to sports, to life. Consistency is key. Consistency will beat talent any day of the week. We need consistency, consistency, consistency. And if Rashford cannot be consistent, or Ferran cannot be consistent, or Olmo cannot be consistent, or whomever cannot be consistent, they have no place in Barca. They don't. This is why I'm not a big fan of renewing Lewy. I love Lewy. I think he's one of the greatest strikers of our generation, undoubtedly. But because of his age, he can no longer be as consistent as he was before. It's not like Lewy sucks. Of course not. Again, one of the best nines of our generation. That talent and skill doesn't go away. But with age, obviously, he cannot be putting up numbers consistently speaking. And this is why I'll be in favor of him leaving, because as much as I love Lewy, as much as happy as I was when we signed Lewy, consistency, my friends. Consistency. Something that, for some reason, people just don't even take into consideration. You know, they be coming here pumping their chests when a player does great, when a player I've criticized. Like when Ferran goes and scores, I told you. It's like, bro, consistency. What fucking part of consistency do you not understand? I don't care that Ferran just went on and scored a hat trick. That's great. Awesome. But where was he the match before that? Or the match before that? Or the one before that? Don't come here like boasting, like, oh, look how great he did in this one match. I don't give a fuck. I want to see him do great consistently. Etch that into your fucking brains. Consistency. It's not that difficult of a concept. And it's a concept that should already be etched into your brain, not because of Barca or because of sports, because that's the key to success in life, period. In anything you do, in school, in work, in any hobby you pick up, playing an instrument, playing sports, arts, whatever. Fucking consistency. Etch that into your brain. Anyways, let's do the next bit of news, because, ladies and gentlemen, Barcelona are reportedly tracking another center forward. This one out in the Bundesliga, who's no other than, wrong screen, Christian Kofane or Kofane. I don't know. If anyone knows, please let me know. So we're going to call him Christian for now, because I don't want to butcher his name over and over again. Anyways, as you know, Barcelona are in the market for a center forward come the summer transfer market. They've been tracking, a list of players, possible signings. For example, Vlahovic was on that list and he was removed because Barcelona thought he didn't have what it takes to be a Barca player. Kane was on the list since he has a 60 million euro release clause, and given his experience, the fact he's a world-class center forward, the fact he's consistent in scoring, he was also on the list, but it looks like he's more inclined to renew with Bayern and retire at Bayern rather than coming to Barca. Then we have other options like Hirasi, Fisnik Aslani, right? Eta Young was on that list and was removed because he wasn't consistent. You guys seeing the pattern now? But now there's a new name on the list. A new name that Barcelona are tracking, seeing how he develops. And for now is just interest from afar. In other words, I like what this player has. Let's see how he does. Let's watch him. Let's send scouts to see him. And then we can decide whether he could be, someone that we want to go after. Now, if you don't know who Christian is, he's a 19-year-old Cameroonian striker, currently plowing his way at Bayer Leverkusen. He this season so far, he has scored 7 goals and provided 8 assists in 39 matches. He has gone from being a sub to a starter thanks to his improved performance. He also earned a spot on the Cameroonian national team during the Africa Cup, where he scored 2 goals in the group stages. And his explosion into the scene has nicknamed him in his home country of Cameroon as the new Samuel Eto'o. Now, Christian Kofane was someone that Real Madrid came very close to signing during the summer transfer market. However, they did hesitate, which allowed Bayer Leverkusen to snatch him up for 5 million euros. And now he's attracting interest all across Europe, especially in the Premier League, where teams like Arsenal, Newcastle, Everton, Brentford have all contacted his agent. And then outside of the Premier League, we have Bayern Munich and Barcelona, who have also made contact with the players' camp. So Christian Coffin, some of Barcelona are watching now to see whether he could be an option for the summer transfer market. And my question to you is, have you seen Christian Coffin play? If so, do you think he'd be a good option for Barca? Yes, no, maybe. Let me know in the chat section or in the comment section if you're watching this once it ends. All right, let's get back to the comment section, and then we are going to talk about Bastoni. Looks like he's going to be a name we're going to be talking about a lot. But that's okay. That's okay. Let's see. Ragnar says, Mo, did you hear about the VIP seats being badly constructed and they complain about not seeing much? Yes, I have heard. So there are, I don't know about the VIP seats visibility, but I know there are visibility problems. As you know, the supporters section used to be in the north goal. With the renovation, they moved them to the south goal. And now the seats, or the area that used to be the supporter section in the north goal, there's now seats there. Now, the people who have sat in those seats complain that the visibility is really bad because the seats are almost the same level as the pitch. You know, to be able to see a match good, you have to be somewhat elevated and on an angle, but not there. Why? Because that was a supporter section, right? The supporter section used to stand. While they stand, they don't have seats. So if you're standing, you're fine. But if you're sitting, which again, now there's seats where that used to be standing section, the fans cannot see. Not only are they sitting almost at the level of the field, but there is the advertisement banner, which now they're even higher. Before it used to be just one strip of screen. Now it's double strip. So Barcelona said that they were aware of the problem before they even opened that area, but they still opened it and sold the seats. And then people were like, whoa, I can't see. So now they've had to close down 300 seats that they're going to remain closed for now until Barcelona figure out a solution. Again, this goes back to the whole Laporta and his board improvisation. It's like, you know about the problem, and instead of trying to fixing it, you ignored it, pretended it wasn't there, and try to get away with selling the seats. And then when people complain, they're like, shit, I can't get away with it. So now I got to close it. So now they have to figure out the solution, even though I imagine the solution would have been much easier while that section was still closed and construction was still ongoing. But no, let's open it, pretend it's not there, try to sweep it under the rug, and now, oops, we got caught red-handed. Let's figure out a solution. Same shit as always. As far as the VIP seats, I've heard complaints about that the seats are not comfortable. They're very cheap material. I gotta say, I didn't go to the VIP seats, but even the regular seats they feel like plastic seats from Temu, honestly. Like this, well, you can't see it, but I have, the seat from the old Camp Nou. It feels a lot more sturdy than the seats I was in that was brand new. Which, there has been complaints that they've cut corners around this construction. It's unfortunate. Unfortunately, that's how this board rolls, man. They just like to cut corners. But anyways, George says, I bet he forgot about the slander he paid for against the players. If you talk about the Barca gate, yes, you are right. Because if you don't know, guys, there is a case right now against Bartomeu. I think there's two in regards to the Barca gate. I think one of them got dismissed and the other one's still ongoing. I can't remember. But Bartomeu, in order to kind of like combat the opposition he was having from people like Laporta, from people like Victor Font, from people like Piqué, Messi, Xavi, he hired a PR firm that he paid with the club's money. And the job of this PR firm was to disparage these people I just named, Laporta, Fon, Xavi, Messi, etc. On social media, creating accounts to talk crap about them. Bots, millions of accounts, leaving comments, things like that. Kind of like what the club did with their Stegen when they wanted to push him out. And all of a sudden, all these stories were surfacing about what an evil man Ter Stegen is, and everybody fell for it because unfortunately, that's social media for you. People gobble up whatever bullshit you throw at them as long as it's on a tweet. You can come to someone and say, "Hey, I don't know, if you eat this shit, you're gonna poop out gold," and they were like, "Get out of here." But if you put it in a tweet, people are like, "Oh, I believe you." So yeah. B says, "Hey Mo, I saw someone say to make comparisons videos. Idea is great. I wanted to ask if you could do the same for the youth in the following season. Example, signing in the summer 2026, future project. If you could, the same for youth in the following season." I don't know if I understand what you're suggesting, but if you could clarify, that'd be amazing. And GT says, "Hey Mo, been ages, bro. I think it's time we move on from Messi. He is the GOAT, completed football, but I think there are some positives to take from Messi's departure." I mean, we have moved on. I don't think there's anyone talking about bringing him back. The only talks about bringing him back has been more of a let's bring him back for a goodbye. I know Victor Font did mention about bringing him back either as an ambassador or as a player. And at the time I said, I'm like, bro, you're stupid because bringing him back as an ambassador 100%. I think Messi should be linked to the club forever, but not as a player. That chapter is over. I think what we should do is what Mark Siria was recommending, which is do collaboration between the Barca brand and the Messi brand, because these are two of the most powerful brands in the world of football. Kind of like how we brought Barca with Spotify, one of the biggest brands in football, with one of the biggest brands in music. Bam, money, cash cow. We should do the same with Messi, right? Messi, Barca, two of the biggest brands in the world of football, bring them together and just make it right. Justice Boya says, "Hello, Mo. Justice Boya from the Gambia. Mo, I prefer Sheldrup signing rather than update. The board should bring Bastoni and a pure 9 and then Sheldrup to help him out in the attacker role." So Sheldrup actually plays on the left. If that's what you mean, helping him out as we would have two wingers that could dribble. But if you mean as a substitute, no, because Sheldrup plays on the left. But yes, I agree as far as Sheldrup over Abde. I think Abde is a good winger for a team like Real Betis, like a mid-table team. For a team like Barca, not so much. Let's do one last comment and then we'll do the comments. But Zach Urban says, "My personal dream signing for the left wing is Barcola. Barcola. That's my French reading of the name. Very underappreciated winger, would be lethal with Lamine." I don't think Barcola is underappreciated. I think people are very aware of what Barcola is capable of. The question is, can you bring him? And I don't think that's possible. I don't think PSG would be interested in selling. And even if they were, they're going to ask for an arm and a leg in order to prevent clubs from wanting to take him, right? Because they do know what they have on their hands. Anyways, let's do the last bit of news and then we'll continue doing comments. But let's do the last bit of news because we do have an update in regards to Alessandro Bastoni. Because Bastoni right now is being pushed, encouraged to leave Italy. That's a nice way of saying people are really mad at Bastoni in Italy. The media are crucifying him. Fans are even sending him death threats, which to me is absolutely idiotic. Next level stupid. To try to wish or threaten someone with death over a sport, you have to be a special kind of retard to do that. And I would recommend psychological help. One of the two, maybe both. Because again, if you're willing to kill someone over a sport that has zero implications on your life. A team winning or losing Yeah, it might make you mad, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really affect our lives. Barcelona lose, all of a sudden I'm not gonna lose my job, or all of a sudden I'm not gonna not have food to eat, or all of a sudden I'm gonna lose my home. It has literally zero implications on your life. It sucks. You feel mad as a fan, but it's not really a life or death situation if your team loses. So to wanna wish death or wanna kill someone over football, again, you have to be a special kind of stupid, which cannot be fixed on its own. So I recommend help. Anyways, so why do I mention that? Because I think this could be a great golden opportunity for Barcelona. We know Bastoni is Barca's number one option to reinforce the center back position. We know Inter Milan are now in favor of offloading Bastoni. In fact, as I told you in yesterday's video, Inter Milan have already gave Barcelona the green light to start negotiating with Bastoni and have given Bastoni the green light to negotiate with Barca. We know Bastoni wants to come to Barca, and in fact, he has given the green light to his own agent to start negotiating. So it looks like all parties are in favor of this move. And now that Bastoni is getting all this heat from the media and from the fans to leave Italy because of his red card against Bosnia, which they're claiming cost Italy the World Cup. That's not why it cost Italy the World Cup. What cost Italy the World Cup is that you have a piece of shit team. But anyways, why can't this be a good thing? Because, of course, this is when Barcelona could enter as the savior, come to Inter Milan and say, hey, Inter, you have this guy. The entire nation hates him. Let me take him off your hands. I'm going to be a nice guy. Solve your problem. And in exchange that, you got to sell him to me for 40 to 50 mil instead of the 70 that you're asking for. Then I'm going to go to Bastoni. Be like, hey, man, the whole country hates you. Let me be your savior. Let me take you to Barca where people don't hate you. In exchange that, how about you force Inter to sell you to us for 40 to 50 mil? So this is why I mention it. I think this could be a chip that Barcelona could play in their favor. And they could do so next week because according to reports, Barcelona are set to open talks with Inter Milan next week in regards to the transfer of Bastoni. Honestly, with every passing day, it's looking more and more likely that Bastoni could be coming to Barca. Of course, the key is going to be in how much Inter Milan will want for him because it looks like the player is willing to come. Inter Milan are willing to sell him. The question is for how much? And again, this is where Barcelona could play that card of, hey, everybody hates you here. Let me take you with me to Barcelona. All right, let's do some comments because that is all the news. That is all the news. News. All right, Nicolasin says, dang it, I'm late for the live. I'm on spring break, and I swear every time I'm in break, I lose track of time and days. Well, don't worry, my friend, because you could always watch the live once it's over. And in fact, there will be chapters, so you can skip through the comments if that's what you wish to do. And if not, you can still watch the whole thing. But that's amazing that you're in spring break. Enjoy your spring break, my friend. I know I did with it back when I was a student. I had a lot of fun in spring break when I was a student. Anyways, Kyle Hell says, hey, Rashford been helpful this season. Yes, that's called earning your salary. And even his contribution hasn't fully justified it, let alone keeping him. Let's aim for young talents and priorities. Agree, my friend. Agree. And Yomi Data says, hey, Mo, I almost forgot what the live is like. Been missing it a lot due to work. All my prayers to Barca tomorrow. And especially, I hope Rash clicks from now on and for the rest of the season. I'm sorry, my friend, you've been having to work a lot. Or maybe not. Maybe you enjoy your work. But I'm glad you're here with us in the live. I hope you'll be able to join from more often. And yes, I really do hope that Rashford steps it up and helps us win. Mr. Steal Your Swag. No, don't steal my swag. That's mean. It says, Mo, so glad to catch you live. Let's say Araujo is your client. How would you defend his case to stay in Barca or even a player like Ter Stegen? Easy. They have contracts. Fuck off. That's literally how I would do it. I don't need to defend, right? Araujo has a contract till, what is it, 2031. Ter Stegen has till 2028. If I'm the agent, I'm like, bro, they have contracts. So you don't want them? Well, too bad. They have contracts. Oh, you want to liquidate the contract? Fuck it. Pay up the whole contract's value. That's how I would do it. I mean, that's why contracts exist, right? Abdul Kaba says, hi Mo, Barcelona is the best team. Amen, my friend. And Zemo says, Kofan is a modern striker. In my opinion, incredible hold-up play, but he's still a bit raw. Yes, I do agree. I do agree with that. He's only 19 years old. He's a Bayer Leverkusen. I think he will be a good signing now if we bring another center forward who could be, the actual starter, right? This is not someone you bring and you're like, all right, you're the starter now. You cannot throw that responsibility and pressure on a 19-year-old that's still developing, right? This is someone you bring and you have them develop under someone who's experienced. If Lewy was 32, that'd be a great signing. Bring him. Lewy's still your starter. And then Kofeng can learn from Lewy. And then when Lewy does hit 36, 34, 35, whatever, then you're like, all right, Kofeng, you're up. Right? So, yeah, I do agree with that. And my man Carnell, what up, Carnell? Says, what's going on, bro? I just got up and thankfully I was able to catch the program live. Hope all is well. Well, thank you, my friend, for joining the live. I hope you had a good nap. Wait, up as in, what time is it in Germany? 9 plus 6 is what, 15? 3 a.m.? Oof, that is early, my friend. That is early. But I'm glad you're here with us. Thank you for joining. And Momo says, hello, Mo. It's really been a while. Hope you're doing good. Bisca Barça from Gambia. Let's go. I love it. I love it. And AZ Rigel says, I hope it's Bastoni come that will not finish playing on right back position with Araujo and Kunde. Imagine Barca paying now 2 players with tax over 30 million to cover right back position. Wait. Trying to see if I misunderstood you. I don't know if I understood you. Sorry, my friend. Melio says, hey, Mo, I know the whole process could be difficult, but I do see a potential partnership between Victor Munoz and Lamine Yamal, and also I'd like to see you react to him as well. Yeah, Victor Munoz looked promising, but they're saying Real Madrid are going to activate the buyback option, so it's not looking like it's going to be possible for Barca to sign him. Carlos says, how good is Bastoni? I don't watch Serie A. Will work with the highlight. Which players do you see getting sold this summer? Any hurtful departures? Bastoni's good, man. He's one of the most solid center backs in Europe, I would say, in Europe's top 5. Maybe I could do a reaction video so you could get a better idea. He's more of more of a profile that fits Barcelona. Someone who's solid defensively, but someone who can also drive the ball forward. Someone who could track back. So yeah, I do think he would work in the highlight. What players do I see getting sold this summer? Well, there's a difference between what players I see sold versus what players need to be sold, right? Because there's a lot of players that need to be sold, but the question is, are they going to want to be sold? Ansu needs to go once he comes back. Ter Stegen needs to go once he comes back. Ferran Torres needs to go. Not once he comes back. I almost said once he comes back because, I was like saying once he comes back. But he's not. He's nowhere. He's at Barca. Who else needs to be sold? I don't think we should renew Christensen. I don't think we should renew Lewy. And if we do, only if we bring a center forward that can be a starter, and if we sell Ferran. That way we could be Lewy as the sub and whoever we sign as the starter. I would be in favor of getting rid of Olmo, but I don't see that happening at all because he has a long contract and he's always wanted to play at Barca. So that's kind of how I'll be. Out of those who I see actually getting sold, I don't know, because I feel like they would all want to stay. Lady Barca says, thank you, Mo, for the Barca news. No, thank you for watching, and thanks you all who are here watching for watching. And Americ says, having three players being able to make progressive passes from the back, Cuba, Maldini, and Bastoni, would be amazing. I think so too. Eric Garcia too is really could make those passes from the back. So I agree. That would be amazing. But anyways, that is all, ladies and gentlemen. That is all. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for your donations, for your likes, your comments, your subscriptions. If you haven't hit the like button yet, make sure you do. It really, really, really helps the channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for, man? Subscribe, come on. And if you're watching this once it ends, drop a comment down below letting me know your thoughts and opinions about everything that I shared with you. Thank you guys for everything. I will see you later. And as always, bis Barça.